So I've been sent this project, a Logic project from one of my favorite DJs, Richie Barthez, and this is a great track idea. So what I wanted to do was basically take a look at it and see if there's any things that I could do to help Richie improve the way things are sounding. He sent me everything as it is, and I'm just gonna have a listen and just take a look at certain sections on it. And literally I've loaded it up, I've had a quick listen, and I just need to explore some of the things here. So I'm going to take a look around. So we're going to have a listen. I'm just going to dive in about here. I really love the vibe on this, and I really want to help Richie make the most of the track. Just going to try and find my way around this. The sort of thing that I want to do is to look at the routing. So I've got here the main kick, bus one. I'm just going to turn it down a bit. Let me just see what's going on here. So my first question here is about the routing. So I can see what's going on here. This is going into bus one over here. Whoa, okay, now. What's happening, right, is that the routing to bus one is coming through over here. So here is the bus one input. Now bus one output is going to bus two over here. So this is kind of in series. Now the other thing is that it's being routed in parallel at the same time. So you're also feeding a copy of it into here. I'm not sure exactly why you're doing that, Richie. Maybe you're trying to get parallel compression. And if you are doing that, this is a little bit of a strange routing, because you're actually, yeah, you're routing them both out to the same place. If you wanted to do parallel, then what you would do is you'd make this out to the stereo output. So the bus one means that these two are being routed through the same output here. Then you're feeding through to bus two, which has got your compressed version of those drum elements. And we would usually bring those up slowly and just get a good mix of that. So I'm gonna have a listen. Just double checking a couple of things here. So this is feeding through to that compressor. I want to see how that's working. Right, so bus two. I'm not seeing any gain reduction occurring here. Let me just bring this down. There we go. So we're starting to see some level reduction. If you're doing the parallel compression, usually what happens is you sort of overcook it. You deliberately go for quite a lot of gain reduction. And I'm going to see how that feels. Bring this up. Definitely adds a little bit more presence to the beats there. Maybe that's what you're after. But what I'm thinking is that this snare here, I've got a funny feeling that's got a little bit too much frequency energy on it. So what I'm doing, turning on that analyzer. It's not too bad, to be honest. There I was expecting something to be a lot heavier. What I might suggest is turning on a low cut, doing quite a steep low cut and trimming that out. Now, I have to stress at the moment I've got the earbuds on. I'm going to do a check on a better pair of headphones fairly soon. So what I'm going to do is just to set up a loop. Let's get a section where we can make sure it just keeps going. We can focus on some of these elements. All right, so let me just leave that for the moment. This is lovely. This is a really nice stab sound. Now, I'm going to take a look here, put the analyzer on. As I thought, there's quite a lot of bass coming out of that. Not too much on the sub level. Maybe worth doing a little bit of a steep cut here. Just trim that down a bit. That's a lovely, lovely sound. I wonder what's going on with the automation on there. Just going to bring this down over here. Just going to push A to bring on the automation lane. Okay, so it looks like you're doing something with the volume later on. So that's fine. I'm just wondering about rebalancing the stereo on here. Making it a bit more central, because there's some bottom end energy on there. Your space designer. Let me see what's going on here. That has a nice sense of space. Just going to take a look at the levels. Such a crucial part of the track. Just want to make sure that they're nice and even. I was wondering maybe I should put compressor on. That's feeling alright at the moment. But now this is the thing, I want to turn up the volume there, and because you've got the read automation on, that's no good. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to drop in the utility gain, and that's going to allow me to turn things up a bit here without affecting the volume of the automation. See, I feel that's got to be a real strong element in the track. Now I've noticed that I've tipped over the 0 dB point on the master here. You've brought your master fader down. I recommend never to do that. Okay, always put your master fader at 0. Also, when I say master, this is a funny thing about using different applications all the time. This is what Logic calls the master. That's more like your volume knob for the system, and that does impact the rendering of the file. So definitely keep this at 0. Definitely keep your output at 0. They're the benchmarks, the starting points. It's very important to do that. Now, if the levels are too hot coming into the stereo out, just drop in another gain plugin. Just reduce the gain before it's hitting that final stage. There we go. Very conservative at the moment. Let's bring this up. That's good. Now don't worry too much about the redness on the channels here. It's only that output where it matters if it's going into the red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dropping in some elements here. I'm going to put on my last stage the dynamics, the adaptive limiter. And this is really just kind of like some DIY mastering stuff. Just going to show you how much of a difference this can make. We're going to do dynamics, compressor, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch down to VCA. I really enjoy this kind of flavor. I'm just going to go for about 20 milliseconds or so. The ratio is nice and low. Maybe just take it to about 2. I'm going to see how that feels. The release, maybe about 100 or so. And let's just see how that feels. Okay, we're just pushing a little bit too hot. Let's take the input scale down. Bring the compressor threshold down. What we're trying to do is just bind it together a bit more. Going to take this down about -0.3. Now I'm noticing that there's a peak on the right hand channel, so we want to ease that back a little bit. I wonder where that's coming from. Could be the stab. Seems to be moving a fair amount. Now what we could do is, before the space designer, I'm going to move this down. I'm going to add in here imaging. We're going to do the direction mixer. Just going to reduce the stereo width. Right, where? Okay, there's the panning that I did earlier. So we've got a much more kind of mono signal here going into the space designer. See how that makes a difference? You can just reduce that. Don't want to make it too mono. It's also affected the level, of course. So let's get in there, get the gain plug in, reduce this down. Yeah, when you're doing mixing, it's all about balancing and juggling. So I'm going to check on the output here. No, something else is jumping out every now and again on the right hand side. And you know, I'm trying to do this at speed here, Richie. You know, this is really, you need like a whole day to mix a track down properly. So this is always going to feel a bit rushed. I'm going to try and isolate where that right hand jump is. Okay, it sounds nice, but you know what you need to do with these is to just double check that there's no unwanted low frequency energy. Look at that, some sub bass down there. Just going to roll that off. So you have to turn it up in order to actually hear that. So that's that fixed up. In some respects, you know, you might want to put a low cut on everything except for the bass, the kick, toms, all that kind of stuff. Okay. It's the clap, isn't it? So the clap's really balanced over to the right. Just straightening this out a bit. Is there anything else that's jumping out on that right? This is still over to the right a bit. Let's get a direction mixer. Now the other thing that you can do actually is to use the gain. So watch this, right? So what I'll do, I'll bring the Space Designer down underneath the gain, turn the gain on, switch on to mono, take direction mixer off. So we've now got dead mono. Space Designer seems to be definitely adding a bit of width on there, some inconsistency for the left and right, but it's nowhere near as raw and rough and ragged as it was before. Okay, something's telling me that something is eating up bandwidth here. So we've got a certain amount of headroom between, you know, silence and 0 dB, which is the loudest. Okay, now that feels an octave too low to me. That's a very, very low sub bass. And let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, I know everyone's craving like low sub bass and everything, but that's too low. Now I'm trying to remember the keyboard shortcut for this. I think it's Alt Shift and then arrow. There we go. Take off the reverb. Let's have a look at this EQ. Okay, well look, I'm going to take that EQ off. The notes are sounding cool. Just going to take a look at what's going on here. It's a very simple sound. Just wondering about doing this instead, just kind of warming it up to compensate for the fact we're now an octave higher. Might be inclined to take the release out on that. In this case it's called decay. Yeah, actually this doesn't have a release, does it, this synth? That would be nice to do that. I just wanted to make those notes a bit longer. Let's try that with the kick. Now the danger here is that it might be clashing with the kick because it's on a similar position. But on these earbuds it's sounding alright. Just going to see the drum elements, the other ones. Now for me, with all that stuff that I did with narrowing the sound, it feels like it's really lost some of its life. Just going to take this gain and take the mono off. Just wondering if there's something else we can do. Let me just solo just this one on its own. I need to take a look at the EXS24, see if there's any kind of pan thing going on here. What could be causing that to do what it's doing? It seems to be moving left and right a bit for sure. Now looking at this, we've got here the LFO is routed to pitch, velocity to filter cutoff, envelope 1 to filter cutoff. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of modulation to the panning. Just checking to see unison, that's off. But you know what I'm going to do? Instead of the reverb being on an insert here, I'm going to get a little bit more control. So we're going to go to bus 3 and drag this Space Designer instead onto there. Let me just move it over. Now it's been a while since I've used Logic, so I'm just trying to remember. There we go. So it's Command plus drag. So now instead the source sound is where it is, and then the effect is being added. So what we can do with this is we can actually do something like roll off the bass on the reverb. So that could be part of the thing that's causing what's going on. interestingly, the reverb is what's panning over there. So there must be a pan control in the reverb. So we take this. So somewhere around that, I think feels a bit more controlled. Okay, now that synth was nice that came in there. Where is that? Once again, with automation on there, so I'm going to drag in the utility gain. It's a nice sound, this fifth lead, but it feels like it needs something else. I'm going to whack on here. Okay, yeah, we're going to drop in here, delay, stereo delay. And let's just see how that feels with a touch of that on there. Just wait for it to come around again. That's nice. So it's feeding signal through to the delay now. And that pad, where's that? This needs to come up. Once again, some automation on here, not sure if that's on the volume, so what I'm going to do instead, let's lift up the volume here. Too much. Just waiting for the sound again. Okay, it just needs to come back on here. Just going to take a look at what's going on over here. There's a little bit of panning on the stereo out there, that's fixed up now. Pushing into the adaptive limiter now. Giving us some decent level. Okay, look, tons of sub bass here. That's going to be clouding it up. What I'd suggest as part of the arrangement is to drop the pad that's occurring there. Whoa, I've just taken it out of full screen. The keyboard shortcuts you got here, Richie, are different to mine, so I'm going to come here. When I say that, I've just done a clean install of Logic again, so maybe these are the defaults. So I would use marquee, select over here, and then go back to normal pointer, just click in here, and then just delete that one out. I'm not going to erase the automation just in case there's anything I want to come back to. So at least we've got some clarity there. Okay, these chords feeling a bit too heavy. So now we've got that sub bass fulfilling the role of the bass line. Right, that's good. So what I'm going to do just quickly is check on some other headphones so I can check the bottom end properly. And the best thing to do, of course, is to put it on speakers. But for the moment, headphones are going to have to do. Just warming up the bass on the kick. Okay, well look, that's a starting point at least. That's all I've got time for at the moment. See what you think, Richie. I'm going to send it back to you so you can check it out. And it's coming together. There's definitely some nice bits on this tune. I'm not convinced that it's 100% right at the moment, but I think it's actually sounding a lot better than where it was. My gut feeling, Richie, is that the kick possibly is not the best kick for the track. There may be some others that are worth experimenting with. Okay, so also the sub bass, maybe there's something better that could be used for that, and I'll have a think about it. All right, so just for the moment, that's just a little kind of initial quick appraisal of what was going on. The key thing for me was the routing of your buses, you know, that whole thing about trying to do the parallel compression. It'd be really interesting to see the thinking behind that, and see whether I've understood what you were trying to do, which is to kind of thicken out the beats in a way. But you know, personally, I find it's always better to pick the right source sounds, and more so than try to beef them up by using other processors and stuff like that. So my gut feeling is, like I said, that the kick drum could be better. But anyway, that's about it really. I'm just going to take the correlation meter off. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. I mean, I would personally add an EQ in here, possibly the linear phase EQ, because we're doing this over the whole track. Maybe a little bit of a dip, about 200 hertz or so, maybe a little bit of a lift, about 10k, just for safety. Up the top here, 17k, maybe down here about 30. I don't know. Let me just have a quick listen. So you can see that compressor there is really kind of binding it together. That's got a bit more life to it now. So anyway, Richie, that's it. That's all I can manage at the moment. I'll stick the video up, and everybody else is welcome to comment as well. This is going to be a great track when it's finished. I really like the vibe on it. So good work. And yeah, just a few tweaks, maybe some different drum elements, maybe a slightly different synth to use on the bass. I'll have a think about that. But that's it for the moment, Richie. And yeah, cool. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing this develop a bit more.